Welcome to Anderson Community Television. I'm your host, Kyle Densler, for your May edition of Anderson Speaks. Wow, I feel like we just did the last month's edition. This month has flown by. Here we have a special guest today. First time on the show, first time I've gotten to chat, but I'm looking forward to it. With me is Diane Miners. She's the owner of Mower Mobile Maintenance.
That's right.
And before we get into that, I want to know a little bit about you. Tell us where you're from and kind of your story up to when you started the business.
Okay. I'm a former teacher. Went to college, taught for 7 years, raised my children a little bit, started a business with a friend. It was a painting and papering business. And lo and behold, my neck went out. So I loved being self-employed. So we went to a show, and it was downtown. How they had that franchise show, well, it was very similar. And it was the first time this man brought a trailer in, and it had a lift, air compressor, generator, blade sharpener in this enclosed trailer. And walked past it and went, wow, that's a great idea. So we invested in that, and that was 21 years ago.
Wow.
And I just graduated about 4 years ago from the trailer into the office. So I don't know, I like that. I like it. And most of the people that we hire, they really enjoy it. You're out in the air and it's mechanical, and so I've always been kind of mechanical. But those first few years, we had a person probably saw a little ad in the newspaper, the local paper, and he answered it because I was asking for help. And this fellow, Tom, he's been with us 20 years.
Wow.
And he's a wonderful mechanic, you know, and he taught me a lot. And of course, I went to the schools. I went to Briggs and Stratton School several times, Tecumseh, the local Scarlet Oaks, and but I've always kind of been technically, I like that type of thing, and I kind of get it. Some people don't. Everybody has their talent, and that might have been mine.
And as a teacher, does it surprise me that you're also a learner?
Oh, definitely, yes,
So
and a teacher, because we have to, yeah.
So did you transition from the classroom to kind of the living room for a while to?
That would be a good way to
this?
put. That would be a good way to put it. Yes. Sometimes we would call it in the summertime. We would call it our little oven, because it was just a little box, you know, and you work, and you do get very warm. You have to make sure that you drink lots of liquid.
So you started Mower Mobile Maintenance, and
Yep.
just in general, you've kind of given us a picture of this, but what is this business? What do you do, and how do you do it?
It's a great business. Most people that hear about it are just like flabbergasted that this exists, and they go, "Oh my gosh, thank goodness!" For a very reasonable amount of money, we come to people's homes and service the lawnmower. We'll sharpen the blade, balance the blade, make sure that it's straight. We will change the oil, and for riders, oil filters. We'll check the RPMs. We'll scrape under the deck. We check and adjust the self-propelled, the belts, WD, you know, cables or whatever. So it's like a tune-up on a working lawnmower, and it's a preventive maintenance. And the nice part about it is that you don't have to wait for your lawnmower. Have you ever taken your lawnmower in and they say, well, you know, this is April 1st, it'll be another 4 or 5 weeks. So we just tell people, hey, check your oil, and you can go ahead and use it.
Or even if you, I know my dad kind of let the blade sharpening slide, and ended up just having to go purchase another because he couldn't wait to get it sharpened. He was trying to sharpen it himself, and he wanted to get it sharpened, and it was he kind of lost a couple of weeks there.
Yeah. Oh, it's really, really convenient. And what we try and do is we service east of 75. So, and there's certain limited areas like in Westchester, but you know, other than that, and as I said, we stay inside the loop in Anderson.
It has a limit. You're not West Virginia, east of 75.
No, we're not even outside the loop of I-75 out here, or out 275 out here in Anderson. But we try and have communities that we go to. So if I go to Loveland, then the trailers will go out to Loveland. So we have 3 trailers operating now, and you know, scheduling can be a challenge, but it seems to work pretty well it's very, very busy for about 3.5 months. And then, you know, people go, okay, I got it done, so I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about it anymore.
It's like tax season for you.
It is like tax season, but it's enjoyable.
Do you,
I like it.
if you have a typical customer, what is that? Or is it all
Definitely
over the
residential.
place?
It's always residential. And I would say we call them walkers, even though they're 22 inches. They're not commercial walkers, but 22-inch or less we call walkers. And I would say totally, because we do offer discounts, and you can go to the website to look at that. But I would say it's around, if you get all the parts, like the air filter. Some years you don't need the air filter, but it's probably around $90 to $100. And then for riders, which is really convenient, it's probably around the $190 to $200 mark. And when you consider that, we don't pick it up and bring it back to the shop, right there is probably $65. So it's
Yeah.
a very easy, and it's convenient, it's affordable.
And
And
if you think about it, if you compare it to the maintenance you might do on your car, this is typically a one time a year thing or a couple
yes,
times.
one time of year. Now, some people like to have their blades sharpened more often, but engine manufacturers like to say they want their oil changed every 25 hours for walkers. And then riders go from 100 hours to 200 hours for
I forget
riders.
they measure in time. So I was like,
Yeah.
hours.
Yes.
It only takes me like an hour to mow my
Yeah,
my
well,
yard. What are they
every
marking?
week for 25 weeks you'll be good. So,
There you go.
yeah, I think the riders, it's very convenient. I would say 2/3 of our business are walkers, and about 1/3 are riders. But
Riders, I would see, obviously are a lot harder to.
yes, they take
anywhere, but-
more time, definitely.
Now, do you see more business and more opportunities to help folks the fancier some of this stuff gets? Like I bought a Briggs & Stratton Craftsman, and it's a self-propelled because I think at the time I'd hurt my leg, so my wife was mowing some. I don't want to make it sound like I don't mow my own grass, but I wanted to make it easy for my wife if she had to do it. So as they add these sort of things, is that more opportunity for you guys to help?
Oh, sure. And self-propelled is great. I think some of the, I'd like to today to give the audience a little, like hints, what they can do to help their lawn more and what they can do throughout the year, But yes, the self-propelled is really nice. And adjusting the self-propelled. It reminds me because the former teacher in me, I've made several videos.
Cool.
Yeah, and so that's how I teach the staff that we hire. And one of the videos is the self-propelled and all the different things that, that can go wrong with your self-propelled. And actually, I don't know if you can get this shot, but the most important thing, or one of the things that really fail, are these wheels. So this wheel here,
Oh yeah.
right in here,
Just hold that up right here.
okay,
I'll hold it
right
for
in
you.
there
I'll be
is-
your Vanna.
Okay, thank you. These gears just disappear.
Oh yeah. They're
And
just plastic.
they're just plastic. So that's the very first thing. So we say on the phone, I go, okay, help me diagnose what you have. So I will tell her about, I will tell them about that, and I'll tell them maybe the belt fell off the pulley, maybe the adjusting on the traction, the cable is either broken or just needs adjusting. And those are the three major things. So, and the other, but yeah, that's something.
So
that
you
we
do
can
you do some kind of just over the phone assistance and
Oh, definitely, because
Very
what
cool.
we try and do is we try and bring a part out with us. So we try and help the customer so they don't have
And
to
be
pay an extra
ready.
trip charge.
Gotcha.
And sometimes it's hard. So I do have a few other things if you would like to.
Well, real quick, I want to get into
Yeah,
all the
you wanna
props.
get
This
into
is
the-
the fun
yeah,
part.
I don't
I
know
guess
what-
another question is, if you have a typical service call, how long are you usually there?
Well, it makes a difference because there are two men or women, if we have women, but there are two people in every trailer. So it gets done pretty quickly. I would say maybe 15, 20 minutes, but that's two people, so if you double, it's 30 to 40 minutes. And
pretty
then there's travel time on top of that. So, but yes, one fella is on this side of the mower, the other one's there, and then, air filter, plug, head bolts, muffler, overhead valve, and then the RPMs they do outside, but we change the plug every year. air filter if it needs it, and then we tilt it, get the oil, all the oil out. We have a pump. We don't use we don't drain it. And even today's lawnmowers, they just tell you to just turn it over and dump it out.
Really?
Yeah. So we have a pump, and we pump it out, and then
So you can show
we
up
get
they-
the blades,
they can't
and then
even
we
tell you were
scrape.
there.
Right.
Clean everything up and look
Yeah.
nice. Now, I can bet over 21 years you probably have some repeat customers.
A lot of repeat customers. I wish our records were a little better. I'm sorry for the folks that have used us for so many years, but it is. I wish I could, acknowledge those people. So.
I'm sure you have some good relationships and
Oh yes,
like
I'll
gotten to know
find out.
people really well.
Yeah,
That's for me. That would be part of the fun part.
it is. It is fun, and I only have a chance to really talk to my customers once a year. So when I talk to them, I give them hints. Try this. The gasoline. The gasoline. Not to criticize anything the manufacturers. It's just the way it is. The ethanol in the gasoline is a problem for small engines. It's the industry problem. Everybody is recommending a stabilizer, and we have a stabilizer here, and you can buy this something like it anywhere, but make sure that it says ethanol protected, because that's what protects your engine. And use it in your gas container, not just in your tank.
Okay.
Yeah, you
So
use it.
pre-mix it basically.
Yeah.
Good.
And then always try and use fresh gas.
Okay.
30 days is
Really?
what fresh gas. I know.
So it's like
I know.
milk.
Yeah.
It's like you don't use it. Like, put a date on it and don't use it afterwards.
Yeah, you try not to. And then some people recommend high test gas, a little higher test gas.
Okay.
So that's probably the three things that we recommend for
What
customers.
does the gas, if it's sat around or if it's gas left over from last year, what is the issue with that?
Don't use it, for sure. Please don't use that, because we try and leave the tank filled with our gas, which is fresher gas that's been stabilized. If they put it in, it's just not good. So if you have a service station that you usually go to, take it to them and they can get rid of the gasoline. If I
Is it
could
something to do? Is it the ethanol that breaks
Yes.
stuff down over
yes.
time?
Yes, there's a great big scientific thing, and frankly, the real big chemical details I don't quite get, but it separates. I know that it separates. And so over time, it'll separate. And I don't know if you can see this on camera,
Yeah. we'll be
but
able to see
at
it.
the bottom there, that is water. Do you see how there's a
I can
difference
see the
right there?
separation. Absolutely.
And that's what happens. So where does this go? It goes down into the carburetor. Here's your carburetor.
Okay.
And it stays there. So when you go to pull, you're kind of shooting up water.
That's not good.
No, not good.
I don't know as much as I should, but I know that's not good.
Yeah, it's not good. So what we do when we come to your house, we will take this nut out, and we will let this bowl drain, and we'll kind of examine what's going on inside this. And that is something that you have to probably be a little bit more mechanical if you're a homeowner to get this, So, but that's what we do. That's one of the things we do when we come to the house.
We were talking before the show about my grandpa taught auto mechanics in
Oh,
West
yes.
Claremont, and
Yeah.
this is the kind of stuff I could watch him take apart, and he would know exactly what to do. And I
know.
wish I had learned it myself.
I know. Well, it's handy, that's for sure. It's handy.
So we got more props, huh?
We do have more props. I would like to say that the other thing that kind of goes with this, the water and the gasoline, is this. This can be very nice. What happens on riders, okay, the carburetor gets messed up because of this ethanol in the gasoline. So there's two ways to fix it. One is to buy a new carburetor, and the other one, though, is to buy a fuel valve. And the fuel valve is such that it can turn off or on, and it stops the gasoline from going in here. So what you do, if you have it, you keep the key on, you let all the engine run until all the gas is out, and then you turn your key off. And that's going to be able to stop the bad gasoline or any gasoline from staying in your carburetor, because staying in the carburetor is what damages the carburetor.
Okay.
So,
Well, I think we're good.
All right.
Nikki, you want to?
Sorry about that phone.
You want to step back and have her explain that part again without the cell phone?
I'm sorry about that.
Got to give the tape back to where it was.
And we're in 5, 4, 3, looking at Diane.
So just to clarify, this is something that does not come on the engine normally. This is something that you guys install.
On some mowers it does come,
Oh, okay.
but on others it does not. Now, this you can put it on lawnmowers, but what I was saying is some riders, you can get a new carburetor and be done with it. On other ones, people will put a fuel valve in, but it can be a hassle because you have to turn it, remember to turn it off and then turn the key off so your battery doesn't go down, and then you have to put it back on. So it can be, but this is a real lifesaver for debris equipment, we call it. So log splitters, vacs, chippers, snow blowers. If you can see the fuel line and you can put this on, this is really nice because snow blowers are notorious because of all the water around and condensation. Something gets hot and then everything gets cold, so there's water. So this is really a nice thing to add to the.
Yeah, are those all things that you work with as well?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we put a lot of those on.
Because you forget, I mean, we talk about mowing surfaces and you think just kind of, like you said, riders and walkers, and you forget about a lot of the other stuff that people use.
Now we always say we work on things that have wheels, but not handheld. We used to do a long time ago handheld items, but that is not our thing because
Like
people can
chainsaws and
take
things.
people can take that. The nice part about our service is that we come to you because not many people can take their mowers, certainly not riding lawnmowers,
Right.
to the shop. So we also do have a shop. We're over in the Deer Park, Kenwood area. So if people wanted to bring them in, you're welcome to bring them in to the shop in Deer Park. So
You drop them off before you go to fancy shopping.
yeah, that's right. Drop them off, go to Kenwood Mall, and then I'm dating myself when I say Kenwood Mall. But I do have a couple other things, Kyle.
Absolutely.
I would like to tell the customers about what I get when they call and they think, oh, I think I bent my blade. I said, okay, we're going to test your blade, but we're also going to test your crankshaft. Because if the crankshaft is bent, they've hit the water meter out in the front or whatever. And I said, so here's what it is. It takes 2 people to do it. So I said, one person takes the lawnmower, puts it all the way down to the ground. The other person will kneel in front of it and kind of look at where the blade comes in, and it would be like right here. And that's going up into the engine. That's your crankshaft. And if this part right here in the middle goes in a circle, you didn't bend your crankshaft and you don't have to buy a new lawnmower. If it goes in an oval, then don't spend any money.
It doesn't matter what blade you put on it, it's going to be crooked.
Now, the test we do with a walker is we do this. We kind of take our little lawnmower blade and we kind of look at the deck, and we probably find a piece of dirt on the deck, and we say, okay, we're eyeballing this edge, and then we rotate it 180 degrees, and if this lines up with that same piece of dirt, this is straight. So, but professionally, we have a tool that does that. That's just one of we call it a crankshaft test. So if people have a rider, now riders, this is nice because they don't know if the blades are bent or not. They certainly can't lift it up. So this is what we do. We take a pencil. I say, okay. I just go right here. Yeah, you can hold that. And then I said, put the eraser down, lower the deck a little bit, but still be able to put your hand underneath the deck, right? So we do this, and I say, cut your pencil with your blade. So now you have a mark. Rotate your blade 180 degrees, and you cut. And if the cut is the same place, that blade's okay. So then you take that to the other side, because usually most of these are 2 blades, and then you know that not only are the blades okay, but you're going to get a good cut. Sometimes a hanger falls off, and I mean, if it's not obvious, this will tell you that you need to do something. We call it the pencil test, for lack of anything else. So
it's not trademarked or anything?
No. There's one other thing that I wanted, two other things, I guess. One is the battery issue. We're not there long enough, I'm sorry, to charge the battery, okay? Because riders take longer. They probably take, with two people, probably 40, 50 minutes with two people. But we're not there long enough to charge that battery. So if you have a rider, it'd be nice to have a charger to go along with it. You can jump them off a car, you know, if you have to. Let it run for an hour at fast speed, and it should charge itself up because there is a charging system in these riders. So that's what we like to say. And sometimes somebody will say to me, but Diane, I just took it up to, you know, my automobile place and they said it was charged. I said, yes, I know, but from the description of the sound, then I can kind of tell that it is truly the battery. I said, just get another one and try that first before we come. Or if in the middle of the season, so they don't, you know, they're stuck. They have to cut their grass. So we try and help them over the phone on that. The other thing was for pull cords is that we tried to tell older people maybe, I guess, myself included, but when we take a pull cord, if you want to get the most muscle out of it, you pull it out until and let it go back, and until you feel resistance. And when you feel that resistance, let it go back in, and then you hold the engine control handle down and you pull hard, because now that hard pull is between here and here, and not here, where you really don't have much strength.
Makes you cutting out the slack.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And it's all, you know, right there, it's probably on that compression stroke. So boom, and, you know, you can get
That's
it
the
started.
special frustration is when you pull on something like the cord on your mower and it just you fly back past your head and nothing turns, nothing happens.
I know. And two, at the beginning, when you press that primer bulb, maybe in 2 little pumps it'll work. But after a few years, you might have to pump it 5 or 6 times.
Okay.
So, because that draws up the gasoline up through that needle in here. So, that's helpful. Now, Kyle, they're not, I don't know, they don't make primer bulbs anymore on these lawnmowers. It's called auto choke. And with the auto chokes, they're hard to start. They're hard to start. So we suggest to people is pull it several times, and hopefully that feeds the gasoline. It's much like a choke or the primer bulb. But the auto chokes can be very difficult, I think. So that's a personal opinion, and some of my staff think the same way. So anyway.
Do you have any tips for like blade health, or is it just keep them sharp, or is there anything you can do to avoid major damage or to try to keep them sharp while they're being used?
I don't think you can keep them sharp. What you can avoid is not hitting the water pipe meter like I did, and I know better. But yes, I think that would be the only thing with the blades themselves. You know, when they get when they get dents in them, buy another blade. You know, say order another blade up or whatever.
What do dull or damaged blades? What kind of effect do they have on your engine? Does it?
Oh, it has to work harder.
Has to work.
Definitely, it has to work harder. And the oil change, you know, people forget about the oil change. It's just like a car. You have to, you know, change the oil in these lawnmowers, and especially in the air filter too, because when you think of it, that little lawnmower, the walkers are so close to the ground, they'll pick up all that dust, and so that air filter's, you know, has to do its job.
Somebody's working a lot harder than maybe one even in a car.
There's another thing that brought to mind when you talked about the blade. This, as I told you before, is the self-propelled. So let's pretend these are on the front wheels, and you're going along and you're into the bushes, and then you pull it back, and you know, you really don't want to release that self-propelled. And when you pull it back, well, it's going against this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of advise not to do that.
I know if I'm not paying attention, mine, even if I release, it'll lock up until I kind of give it a push forward, and then want to pull back, and then I work harder than I need to because I'm not paying attention.
Yeah. Well, the self-propelled certainly makes it nicer.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah. Yeah. I don't see too many of the other ones anymore. My father had a mower for years and years and years, and he just pushed it, pushed it, pushed it, but it was very easy to push. And he had a flat yard too. So,
I see you have some tools over here. Are these
yes,
recommended tools, or these ones you use a lot?
this I just brought just a couple little things. This is a typical air filter when we talked about air filters. This is a very common Briggs & Stratton air filter, and that's something that you can take mid-season and you can tap it out and make sure all the grass is kind of out of there. They don't recommend blowing these things out, but they do. A tap like that would be fine.
You don't want to get these wet.
No, no.
So we don't rinse these out.
No, you don't rinse those. But it does remind me, when you tilt a lawnmower, it's really important. This is a walker, of course, but when you tilt a lawnmower, keep the carburetor side up. I think people, in their effort to keep the undercarriage clean, which is, you know, good to do, especially for caked on dirt, that they'll turn it the wrong way. So all the gasoline will leak, and sometimes the oil will leak out the sides. I often recommend keep that up, and then, but sometimes the muffler's on the other side, so then the oil goes into the muffler. I recommend, and most times, tipping the handle down to the ground and cleaning it that way.
Okay.
That's what I do.
And if you do it the wrong way, it's kind of a easy thing to avoid. But if you do it the wrong way, what sort of damage can you cause?
Well, you more than likely will have to have a carburetor clean out. You'll have to change your air filter. Sometimes you have to change the plug, and then you'll probably have to take this bowl off, clean the nut at the bottom of the bowl, and then squirt this out with a little carb cleaner. You don't necessarily have to take this off at this point, but you do kind of have to, you know, squirt some carb cleaner in there, because the oil will go everywhere, you know.
And by carb cleaner, you don't mean the pill I take before I eat a baked potato.
No,
That's
I don't
a different
think,
kind of carb.
Yeah, that's a different kind of carb indeed.
We have
that's
just a
for
couple
sure.
minutes left. There's anything else you want to highlight or share with us before we go?
I think that over the 21 years, you know, we have really tried to be of service to every customer. Now, you know, do people have problems sometimes? Of course, every, you know, business has that, but we really try and please every customer. We have a website. We have pricing comparison. The website is mowermobilemaintenance.com, and of course, my name's Diane, so it's the email address is diane@mowermobilemaintenance.com, and I think that's. I'm sorry. I mean, we come out to Anderson, probably once a week during the springtime. During the summertime, we try and wait until there's about 3 mowers, and then we come out to the Anderson area. But would like to have a lot of Anderson customers. So thank you. Of the ones that are here, thank you very much.
Well, then I appreciate you coming out and sharing what you did and giving some great information for the folks in Anderson
I
Township.
appreciate it too, Kyle. Thank you very much
Once
for
a teacher,
having me.
always a teacher. Right?
It is. That's true. That is so true.
Right. Well, this has been Diane Miners with Mower Mobile Maintenance. I want to thank you all for joining us for this May edition of Anderson Speaks, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.